Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The centre has finally banned the Popular Front of India, the PFI, a radical Islamist organisation whose members are wanted for cases ranging from murder to radicalisation to terror camps. Now, this ban has come after dozens of places were raided and more than 300 PFI leaders and workers were arrested over the last week to 10 days. Some incriminating material has also been recovered from some of them. The PFI claims that this is nothing but a witch hunt. The question, though, is why should anyone, let alone mainstream political parties, why should there be even an iota of tolerance for radicalized views and actions that lead to terrorist behavior?
After 2 rounds of intensive raids and more than 300 arrests, it finally happened. The centre banned the Popular Front of India and its associates for 5 years under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Listing the reasons behind the ban, the Home Ministry's notification stated that PFI is involved in several criminal and terror cases and shows sheer disrespect towards the constitutional authority. With funds and ideological support from outside, it has become a major threat to the internal security of the country. And investigations in various cases have revealed that the PFI and its cadre have repeatedly engaged in violent and subversive acts.
निश्चित रूप से लंबे समय से जांच चल रही थी, कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा मिला है जो उनकी गतिविधियों को संदिग्ध बनाता है.
With PFI being declared an unlawful organisation, their properties could be attached and activities of their members could be deemed illegal.
Where right now in the Benson town, where happens to be the PFI state head office here, are leaders across the state and from also outside the state. So they used to come and visit this organization.
A team of police officials have managed to reach over here. They are inspecting this entire site, just making sure that no untoward incident happens over here. And that is the reason why a team of police officials have just arrived.
The ban was welcomed by most state governments.
This is a very, very welcoming move. PFI and CFI create a fertile ground. Al-Qaeda Indian subcontinent can recruit it.
जो minorities है उसमें घुसकर वहाँ पर अनरेस्ट निर्माण करना, वहाँ पर इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन करना, फंडिंग की भी अपनी व्यवस्था की है, छोटे छोटे अकाउंट निकालकर उसके माध्यम से किसी के ध्यान में ना आए इस प्रकार से ये टेरर फंडिंग कर रहे थे.
But politics wasn't far behind, with many opposition leaders questioning the move.
Every Muslim youth will now be arrested with a PFI pamphlet under India's black law UAPA. How come PFI is banned but organized associated with convicts of Khaja Ajmeri bomb blast are not? Why has government not banned right-wing majoritarian organization?
Bans really have not worked in the past. The same people can work with a different name in a different organization. Earlier RSS was banned thrice. Has stopped them.
For several years now, PFI has been one of the biggest threats to India. Their members chopped the hand of a college professor in Kerala. They've been behind cold-blooded murders of right-wing members and obtained explosives to target prominent people and places. So why object to a crackdown on such a radical organization?
All right, let me now bring in our guests on this significant decision. Many are saying a decision that should have been taken weeks and months ago, but it's come nonetheless today. A ban on the PFI declared as an unlawful organization for the next 5 years. Ghanshyam Tiwari is spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, will be joined by Nagaraju Yadav of the Karnataka Congress. Feroz Ahmed Buck is former Chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. Gopal B. Huzur, former IPS officer of the Karnataka Police. And Tausif Ahmed Khan, advocate and political analyst. Ghanshyam Tiwari, let me start with some of the facts. So far in the last week to 10 days, more than 300 PFI workers and leaders have been arrested. Incriminating material, including propaganda material, wireless sets, hoards of cash were recovered from some of these members. There were raids that happened in over 100 places across the last week, 10 days. In the state of Karnataka alone, the PFI is wanted for more than 300 cases ranging from arson to rioting to murder. In the state of Kerala, from where this radical organization belongs or started its journey from, again, there are more than 300 cases, charges ranging from rioting and arson to creating social unrest to even murder. Why should such an organization be brooked in a democracy?
Good evening, Zaka, to you, my fellow co-panelists, as well as the viewers. I believe that the government has carried out an elaborate process and elaborate set of raids, and there is intelligence information that you and I do not have access to. And after such elaborate measures, if the government has decided to ban the organization and the set of organizations associated with the organization, we must wait for the government to put that facts on the table. And we believe that on matters of national security, especially if such a large government agency is involved across the country, we must hold our word and wait for the full facts to appear. At this point in time, if the government believes that this organization is against India, then that is the point of view that we can carry forward.
Why then, Ghanshyam, are a few opposition politicians, and I don't want to take names at this stage at least, why are they coming out and drawing some kind of a false equivalent, saying, okay, great, you've banned PFI, but you should also ban RSS? Do you think both these organizations can be seen from the same token, from the same prism?
Well, if you look at the blast, Samjhauta blast, or Asivanand and the entire conspiracy, if you look at the past track record of conspiracies, if you look at the violent activities that Bajrang Dal has been involved in, and if you look at the vigilantism that these various organizations together with digital camaraderie and collaboration are able to carry out, from preventing a girl from getting married to a person that they want, from dictating what you should wear, which college you can go to, then clearly there is an elaborate case to be made that is this nationalistic in India to disrupt harmony, to build hate, to promote enmity, to create a system where everything is you have to be scared about what you wear, what you speak, who do you marry, where do you eat, and what kind of food you are eating.
Okay.
So if these things are not nationalistic, then the organizations that are continuously in the news and are only growing by this kind of fan following, by being in news on this, are also not nationalistic.
Okay, let me ask Feroz Ahmed Bakht, he's been raising his hand. You don't agree with this equivalence being drawn that there may be organizations on the right wing also who have indulged in violence in the past. There have been instances of blasts where some members formerly associated with the RSS, they have been implicated. Of course, in none of those cases has the trial reached any kind of fruition. But Feroz Ahmed Bakht, please tell Ghanshyam Tiwari and our viewers at large as to why you believe that it's apples and oranges, and why you believe that this is not an equivalence that can be sustained.
All right, Zaka Saab, if I am audible.
Yes, you are.
You know, for a start, with a very humble request to all my co-panelists, including Ghanshyamji, whom I respect to the core of my heart, and you also. You know, I agree with the first portion of Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, who said that the government has carried out a very elaborate process, a legal process, which was actually proved by evidence for actually creating this ban on PFI. I agree with him. But the second part of his statement, he says, you know, this will create Hindu-Muslim hate. I totally disagree, because PFI is a terrorist organization and it has been already proved. And as I think you were saying in the beginning, this ban should have been created long time ago because of its activity and evidence, how these people have been funding riots in UP and other places. And, you know, problem with my learned friends like Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari is that they indulge in a balancing act. Bajrang Dal was doing this, all these, whosoever was doing something wrong is wrong under, if it is wrong under the Constitution of India. Secondly, you know, ifs and buts, if PFI is doing this thing, the government of India does not put its hand, you know, anywhere where it is not sure and it's firm. The government has carried out a very, very sound legal process. And after that only, even I used to tell on certain channels, okay, what has happened to this present government? Why don't they ban PFI? They have banned PFI only after, you know, getting the evidence, so many proofs. And of course, you know, I had been to Kerala also. There I had been to the house of one of the workers of, you know, this RSS, who was unfortunately hacked by PFI people in Palakkad, right? Mm-hmm. It's very sad, you know. PFI has been banned not because of Hindu-Muslim, and this Hindu-Muslim hate is created by these people who are politically connected, who actually cater to their political parties.
So
and there's a couplet for you,
no
Ghanshyam
one
Tiwari
can
ji.
condone
So
a
just a minute,
horrific
Zafar,
crime.
Just last few lines.
Last I'll
word.
come back to you. We have 30 minutes in the debate. Let me ask Sushant Sareen.
Okay, fine.
Any crime, irrespective of who the aggressor is and who the victim is, you can't be seen as condoning any crime. But there is something, to my mind, that's qualitatively different when a professor's hand is chopped off because of a question paper that he set in which some people perceived there was something insulting said about the Prophet. On the other hand, and I said, and I'm saying this, whether it is love jihad or killing in the name of the cow, that is also reprehensible. But I'm not sure that you can equate the two.
Precisely, Zaka. You have to distinguish between thuggery and terrorism. And I think many people who are drawing a false equivalence between organizations like maybe the Bajrang Dal or any of these other guys, RSS is a different league altogether. But a Bajrang Dal or any of the other organizations with the PFI, I think, they are basically just either providing covering fire to the PFI somewhat insidiously, or they are trying to deflect the debate. The fact of the matter remains that if on the basis on which you are demanding these kind of ban, then I think every political party in this country should be banned. There are parties in the south of India which say the most hateful things against the Brahmins, for example. How is that okay? How is that valid? How is that all right? How is that not hate mongering? There were times when in the south of India, these very same parties used to target the Brahmins. There are many other.
Well, one second, sir, 1 second. Yeah, go on, finish, Sushant.
Okay, so there are many other instances like this. So I think those comparisons should not be made. Number one. Number two, you have to look at the reasons for which a particular organization has been banned. And there are at least from what has appeared in the public domain, there are reams of information which actually justify this particular ban, including the fact that they've been involved in terrorist training, including the fact that they have been involved in terror funding, including the fact that they have been involved in links with international terror organizations and all kinds of dubious foreign organizations. They've received funding from them, they've received training from them. They have been actually indoctrinating their own workers to indulge in violence. So there is so much of evidence. Now, on the basis of this, if you're still going to provide, some kind of equivalence with an organization which basically indulges in thuggery, which cannot be defended in any which manner. Let me make no mistake about it. It cannot be defended any which way. You have to throw the law book at them as well. And if it doesn't happen, that's a miscarriage of justice.
But so make a distinction between thuggery and terrorism. I'll get Ghanshyam to respond to that. But let me ask, Nagaraju Yadav, individual members of the Congress Party, not necessarily the official view of the Congress Party, but individual members of the Congress Party also have come, Mr. Yadav, and tried to make this false equivalent, saying, okay, great banning PFI, but why are you not banning RSS? My question to you is, in the state that you come from, Karnataka, since 2007, 310 cases have been registered against the PFI. So what is the case to allow an organization like the PFI to continue spreading the hate that they are spreading and also indulging in the violence that they are indulging in? But more importantly, the accusation against your party and your former government between 2013 and 2018 is that when Mr. Siddaramaiah was in power, he had approved the dropping of over 170 cases against over 1,500 PFI activists. Now, the BJP is saying there is some kind of underhand dealing between the PFI and the Congress, which is why these cases were dropped. Please respond.
Okay. The Congress Party, first of all, welcomed the decision of banning any organization which is a part of terrorist activities in the Indian soil, which is not acceptable to us. The ban is accepted. Now the law of the land should prevail to all the organizations which are involved in the hate killing or in the which are a threat to the Indian secularism of this country or on Indian soil. Any kind of hateness or the kind of terrorist activities or involvement of any kind of right-wing activities to fight against the minorities, or the minorities in the name of Islamic terrorism, people trying to go against Hinduism, is not acceptable to Congress, because Congress believes in the law of this land and the constitution, and the secularism of this country is the priority for Congress. The basic issue of Karnataka cases have been referred in the notification by the Government of India today. About Mangalore cases and about other cases have been mentioned. What we are trying to say is the law should be same for everybody. Now, why Gauri Lankesh was killed? Why Kalburgi was killed? Who was representing it? Which are the right-wing activities are involved in that? And also we have seen in Maharashtra, there is a RSS ex-worker or RSS person has filed an affidavit in the court by saying that they are also manufacturing bombs and other things, which is not told by Congress or Congress workers. It is told by the same RSS workers as this. What we are trying to say is, whether it is RSS, whether it is Ram Sena, whether it is Bajrang Dal, whether it is PFI, whether it is STPI, if anybody is doing unlawful activities, who is involved in terrorism activities in the country, which is not as acceptable to Congress. Now the matter comes here. When Vajpayee was there, SEMI was banned, and it was converted into be in a PFI today. If PFI is banned today, they all join STPI tomorrow. STPI is nothing but a political wing of PFI. Why have they not taken any action? That even though it's a registered political party, they could have collected evidences against and complained to the election commission to take up the case. Why are they selective in this nature? And why are they very particular about not talking about right-wing activities?
Mr. Hozur, please respond to what Nagaraju Yadav is asking. Number one, you can ban PFI, but tomorrow PFI could, metamorphosize into something else with another, name. So nothing stops that from happening. And secondly, there are, I think, about 8 affiliate organizations of the PFI that have also been banned in the notification that came out today. But what about the SDPI? The SDPI is the political wing, it's the political arm of the PFI. Why has that organization been spared? Now, tomorrow, if a majority of PFI members just say that we are shifting to SDPI, then the organization and its work will continue. It's just that it will be under another name.
Yeah, I think, thank you for getting me onto this panel. I would not like to take any political view on this. As a police officer who has investigated a large number of cases, more so in the coastal Karnataka, I must tell very clearly that this decision of the government has come a little too late. But democracy is about taking slow decisions. At least it has come now. Now, when I was the Inspector General of Police of the Western Range, which is on the border of Kerala, I found Kerala to be the epicenter of PFI activities. 2006-07, I saw 3 organizations of the southern states coming together and forming the Popular Front of India and spreading its influence across 23 states in this country. Now, many of the panelists are missing a point here. I would like to make it very clear. Under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, PFI is an organization which is linked to foreign terrorist organizations against the unity and integrity of this country. They have been indulging. I have investigated a number of cases of Indian Mujahideen, which was an offshoot of SIMI. And Indian Mujahideen had very close links with LET. And they have carried out series of blasts across this country. A couple of members are still absconding and they are from Karnataka. But the epicenter was Kerala. It spread over to the western coast of India and thereafter to the other areas in this country. So unless and until we take a very firm action, the unity and integrity of this country is going to be affected. The government has taken this decision. Last evening, I was sitting with a couple of my very dear Muslim friends. I was just inquiring with them, what is the reaction to the ban? Unanimously, they all said, the ban on the PFI, the government has done the right thing. Because majority of Muslims in this country are against the activities of the PFI and probably they know it much better.
Okay.
This government has done its homework well. It has gone through a lot of documentation before taking this decision. The decision of the government will definitely go before a tribunal. And I'm sure with the incontrovertible evidence that the enforcement and investigative agencies have obtained, it will withstand any and every tribunal and any court of law.
No, so
And
let me
now,
ask
as you
Tausif Ahmed
rightly
Khan. I
said,
think one of the points that Gopal Huzur made is absolutely valid. That if you were to ask ordinary Muslims, majority of them, an overwhelming majority of whom are moderate and peace-loving and peaceful, they will say that organizations like the PFI are the worst thing to have happened to them. They are the ones who give a bad name to the entire community. So, if in this whole thing, a majority of the Muslim population is happy with this action against this radical organization, then why should political parties that treat Muslims as a vote bank then come forth and oppose it? I mean, it makes no sense. Today, Mr. Owaisi came out and said that while on the one hand he welcomes the ban on the PFI, he believes that UAPA is a black law and nobody should be incarcerated under UAPA. Now, the two are not comparable. At least, UAPA is a separate debate. You're well within your right to have a separate debate on UAPA, but that can't be the mitigating factor for why PFI should not be banned. Tausif.
May I respond to this, Zaka?
Yes, Tausif, yes. I think you're on mute, by the way. If you can unmute, that'll be great.
Just a minute.
Zaka, UAPA is a law which has been widely criticized for its misuse. Under the UAPA, anyone can be incarcerated and that person will rot in jail without getting any bail, without getting any hearing. So there are illegality, the aspects which are inhumane and against the established principle of law. There are these elements attached to that law. That law has been challenged even in the court. So that's a separate issue. The question here is no one, I don't think even Owaisi has said that he supports PFI. I think he clearly said that he does not support the PFI. And no one, even I don't support, and I haven't heard any Muslim public figure coming out and saying that they support PFI. Rather, they are happy, they welcome that, okay, ban is placed on PFI finally. The demand here is that if you find member of PFI with pamphlet which talks about creating India or turning India into an Islamic state in 2047, and on the other hand, you have a similar, the opposite demand in the opposite camp, every day to turning India into a Hindu Rashtra where Muslims will have no right to vote or other minorities will have no right to vote. So why this, bias against the action when there are
can I ask one interjectory
PFI
question?
members who murdered RSS worker? They are UAPA slapped.
No,
but RSS members also murdered PFI members in South. Why no terror charges slapped on them?
Fair enough. I want to ask one question.
The question is about the bias.
I want to ask one question though. I know that RSS and other right-wing affiliated organizations have been talking about Hindu Rashtra for a number of years now. But the point that you said that when in their ideology of Hindu Rashtra also includes no voting rights for minorities. I have not heard any RSS person say that.
Subramaniam Swamy, come on, Zaka. For this very reason, Subramaniam Swamy was thrown out of Harvard. And we all know which camp he belongs to. And there are people, I cannot give you name now, but you very well know in the past few years, it has been reported even in the print media in mainstream that there are demand from so many, because they may come up with any new organization's name.
Okay.
But they remain basically a right wing, people with radical thoughts, or you can call it with a Hindutva extremist ideology.
Okay,
but
Sushant, respond to that. If on the one hand these guys want to make Islamic State, that is unlawful, but Hindu Rashtra is fine.
Zaka, anybody can want an Islamic state, Jewish state, Christian state, Hindu state in India. Anybody can want it. Anybody can demand it. The question, however, is, and even though it violates the Constitution and the basic principles of the Constitution, the question is this being demanded by an organization, and what is the organization preparing to bring that demand into reality? And that is where it becomes problematic as far as an organization like the PFI is concerned, number one. Number two, I didn't know that Mr. Swamy was part of the RSS. Number three, the gentleman from the Congress party who wants a ban on the RSS, good for him. But his government, his party's government was in power from 2004 to 2014. Why did they not ban the RSS at that point of time? Even though they were cooking up cases. If you listen to, if you accept the testimony of the Home Ministry official, I forget his name, Mr. Money, I think,
RVS Money, yeah.
Whatever, yeah, RVS Money. If you look at his testimony, that those were cooked up cases. But even if you reject that, if they had the evidence, why did they not ban the RSS if they were so confident the RSS is a terrorist organization? And finally, Zaka, Mr. Yadav, I think his name is, he was making the point that a ban does not really help. The Congress party has banned many organizations in the past. Why did they do it? Number one. Number two, the ban does help. The ban is not a panacea. It's a necessary condition to disrupt the functioning of an organization, to degrade its functioning.
Okay.
But it's not a sufficient condition. The sufficient condition is that you keep going after the various new avatars and mutations of that particular organization. And that is where I think governments across the board have been remiss in not going after those particular avatars.
Okay.
But to say that a ban does not help is utter nonsense.
Ghanshyam Tiwari, also please respond to the earlier point. One second, I'm coming to you, Tausif. 1 second. Ghanshyam, the earlier point that Sushant made, that you have to make a distinction between thuggery and terrorism. You can't compare the two crimes. Even though one may be as reprehensible as the other, it's not comparable at all.
So when Bilkis Bano's rapist walked free, and as a BJP national spokesman wrote that VHP people greeted them, was that thuggery? Was it terrorism? What kind of crime was that? See, we can have opinion here, but we can also look at how the world is looking at these organizations. How did the CIA in its fact book speak about these organizations by naming them as religious militant organization in 2018? This is the Indian Express article. As far as the UAPA itself is concerned, over the last 7 years, over 10,000 people have been charged with UAPA and 232 have been convicted. So when you have a system that operates differently in case of Delhi riots, where the court is every day arguing against this system, saying that how you have falsely accused people. When you have a UAPA that has been heavily misused, just think about it, Zaka, that there are as many people charged in UAPA in a year in Uttar Pradesh as in Jammu and Kashmir. So you have a political system that is out there to get people on the basis of an ideology that they have conceived. And talking about Hindu Rashtra, M.S. Govalkar wrote about it in his Nationhood Redefined and bunch of thoughts. We don't have to repeat that. What is the thoughts that at the core these organizations have about minorities? You just visit a BJP spokesperson, take their phone, watch their WhatsApp messages, the kind of groups that they are part of. Every day this is a hate tirade that is run digitally across the country. But that is not the point. Let Mr. Sareen make the distinction between thuggery. I was not interrupting.
One second, Baksa, 1 second. I'm coming to you right after this. Let him finish. Thank you. Let him finish. Thank you.
Mr. Sareen can distinguish between thuggery to what happened to Bilkis Bano, which was entirely enabled by the state. The Prime Minister has uttered 0 words on it, where his government was part of the treatment meted to Bilkis Bano. So I don't make this distinction. I think that it is against India to promote enmity. It is against India to gang up against the weaker people, whether it is women or the minorities or just about anybody. It is against India for establishment to support these people, and it is for India when these people are called out.
Okay, Sushant, quick response, and then I'll go to Firoz Ahmed Bakhtar.
Zaka, the mentality of the people who welcomed the rapists of Bilkis Bano is the same as the mentality of the man who said that what is rape? Young boys often do these things. And Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari has never really condemned that leader's statement. It is the same mentality.
That's a blatant lie.
It is the same mentality.
That's a blatant lie.
So the problem is that, it is very easy to point finger. Mr. whatever, Ghanshyam Tiwari, when you were talking, I kept quiet. I listened to you. If you are interrupting me, you took my name and you pointed fingers at me. I'm just throwing something back at you. And now you don't have the gurda to listen to what I'm saying. I think that's rather unfair on your part.
You are uttering a blatant lie in my name. How do you know I have not condoned it? How do you know you have not?
Did you condemn it? Did you condemn it? Did you condemn what Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav said?
Don't speak nonsense on national TV.
What did you say about what Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav said?
I can condone that. I've never condoned that statement. I've condemned that
have
statement.
You condemned it?
Have
you condemned it?
To your point, you can go and be the chatukar of the government, but don't put nonsense.
No, but have you condemned it? Since you are such a chatukar of that family, have you condemned it?
Would you apologize? Would you apologize?
Have you condemned it? I think the welcoming of the rapist of Bilkis Bano was the most obnoxious act ever. But have you condemned it?
Don't speak nonsense. I have condemned
what Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav said. Have you said that it was a disgusting comment for him to make?
In my name, you can speak. You can be a chatukar to the government. Just don't use my name to speak nonsense.
Well, you are also a chatukar of a different sort.
Okay, guys. Let's just dial it down a notch or two. Let me just pull back from both Sushant and Ghanshyam. Let's dial it down a bit. Let me go back now to Firoz Ahmed Bakht, who wanted to make a point. Firoz Ahmed Bakht, it comes back to at least the evidence that's been put out in the public domain as far as PFI is concerned, and I say this again, this has to be proven in a court of law, whether it is funding from foreign countries, whether it is sending Indian citizens to fight on behalf of ISIS to Syria and Turkey. These are all very grave charges. These are not, these can't be looked upon as petty crimes. So I'm very clear in my mind that the activities that PFI was alleged to have been involved in are of a far more serious and a far more grave nature than you would have, vigilantism crime or gangs of people killing others or warning others in the name of the cow, etc. It can't be seen as on the same page.
Absolutely, Zaka, very well mentioned. And let me tell you, the government of India should put a very, very proper check on the funding system of each and every organization. For any reason, whatever they get the funding for, whether it is for any madrasa, it is for any organization which indulges in terrorism like PFI, because many people are getting these funds in the name of poor students, but these funds don't go to poor students. They go to the so-called the people who take huge bulging funds for any madrasa or anything. It should stop, right? Okay. Because apart from that, let me assure all the people, crores of people who are listening to me on this program, that Muslims of India, they are law-abiding, they love India, they are patriotic, they are nationalistic, they are Sanskarwadi, they are Rashtrwadi, they are Deshbhakt, except a fringe minority which is incited, which is misled, which is provoked, and which is in fact misguided by people like Mr. Owaisi, Mr. Tawqir Raza Khan, and maybe Azam Khan and the ilk of that. But otherwise, people of India believe in this tenet. This is another tenet of Islam, Hubbul Watani Nisful Iman, that half of the faith of Islam is to be patriotic, to be nationalistic, to be faithful to one's nation. That is Bharat Mata, that is India. And in fact, it is whole of the faith. This is what most of the Muslims believe in India. Okay. Except the fringe, very small percentage, maybe less than one even, who are misguided. Okay. Now, having said that, let me finally, finish my assessment. The government of India has done the right thing by putting a ban on this organization, and this government is a go-getter. It is a well-meaning government, and it is a government which is not against any community, which is for all the people.
All right, I got your point, Mr. Firoz. Let me ask Narayan Yadav, Nagaraju Yadav. Mr. Yadav, it comes back to, again, I'm coming back to your state of Karnataka, where in the 2018 elections, the accusation by the BJP was the Congress got the SDPI, which is the political wing of the PFI, to withdraw candidates from places like Bantwal, Mangaluru City North, other seats in Dakshin Kannada, as well as in Hebbal in Bengaluru, thereby the political charge being that SDPI has some kind of underhand deal with the Congress party. Please respond to that charge.
Basically, I'm trying to tell you that we have no understanding with STPI or any organization which is connected with the terrorist organizations. We don't believe in them being a part of Congress and Congress ideology. Congress ideology is very clear, not Hindutva or not Islamic country. We want a secular country which is Indian, where 140 crores accepted as an India and we are all living together as brothers and sisters. That is the basic idea and ideology of Congress. Now, the basic idea is this, they were saying that between 13 and 18, the Siddaramaiah government had withdrawn 175 cases. That's what was mentioned earlier in our co-panelist. But I am trying to say that the cases which are not of serious grievances like murder or communal clashes, it was all politically motivated. Local election cases were withdrawn. Not at all supporting any of the terrorist organization, cases were withdrawn. Now, basic idea is that Muzaffarnagar, when the UP government in Uttar Pradesh, how many cases were withdrawn when Muzaffar communal rights were there? Even the Supreme Court went on against the UP government for asking the government clarification on the Muzaffar rights and all that. And today I am trying to in the Karnataka, there are Muslim youngsters have been dead and Hindu youngsters have been killed. These both are condemnable and both Congress doesn't accept any of these things. Gopal Osur, being a senior officer, he was talking about integrity of the country and nationalist thinking of Indians is most priority to every citizen of country and for even Kannadigas. We only say that no ideology of this kind who are having connection with the separatists or with the terrorism activities or hate speeches or hate religion. And second, lastly, I'll tell you, sir, we don't want to believe in religious kind of politics at all.
One second. The problem is, and I'll ask Tausif also this because he also, speaks for a certain political ideology which has been accused of doing this in the past. That is to treat large sections of the Muslim community as a vote bank. Now, I have said this so many times in the past in the show as well, that organizations like the PFI are actually the biggest burden on moderate Muslims in this country, because every time, the PFI does something or says something, it is almost expectant of the moderate Muslim to come out and condemn and distance. And in fact, they bring a bad name to a majority of the community who are moderates. And when political parties treat them as vote banks, then you start pandering to organizations like the PFI, or at the very least, you start looking the other way when they start spreading their tentacles.
No. One thing I'll tell you, the Congress doesn't want to have any affiliation.
Thank you, Mr. Yadav. Thank you. Tausif.
Zaka, there are people holding Dharam Sabha and calling for Muslim genocide. There are people taking out procession, asking for genocide of Muslims, brandishing weapons in their hands. And there are demands for Hindu Rashtra, and there are lynchings. But yet, these people are still, not put behind bars. No terror charges are slapped on them. Then why no action against them? Because they are pleasing a certain vote bank. Can we not say this? Can we today not say that BJP is banking on its own vote bank? BJP, which talks about only 80% vote. BJP, BJP, whose senior leaders have time and again talked about how Muslims should go to Pakistan, how they should have no right, how this India belongs to only Hindus. Then what kind of vote bank are they attracting? There is only one vote bank in India, and that is Hindu vote bank, which BJP thinks that they have created with that 33% vote share that they have. Okay. On the other side, if you talk about Muslim votes, where are the Muslim vote and where are the Muslim vote bank? It is a split. One side you have OIC, then you have Congress, then you have RJD, then you have even Nitish Kumar, which gets these votes.
No, but
Muslim vote. In Bengal,
that vote being splintered has nothing to do. No, Tausif, the fact that vote may be splintered between different parties does not make it any less a vote bank. The fact is that it's been treated as a vote bank over the years by different political parties. But anyway, I'll give Sushant the final words.
Just 10 seconds, Zaka, just 10 seconds.
Okay,
just 10 seconds.
10 seconds. I've got 1 minute to wrap up the whole debate. Yeah, 10 seconds. Tausif.
Now you see, in February this month, this year, Megh Mela, a Dharam Sansad was organized, where Varanasi-based Shankaracharya Parishad Swarup, Hindu Rashtra Nirman Samiti Chief Kamleshwar Upadhyay, Senior Supreme Court Lawyer B.N. Reddy, Defense Expert Anand Vardhan, Sanatan Dharam scholar
Okay,
Chandramani
quickly.
Mishra and World Hindu Federation President Ajay. All of them were present, and a draft resolution of Hindu Rashtra was passed with Varanasi proposed as the capital instead of Delhi.
Okay.
And
Sushant, when a Yati Narasimhan calls for mass genocide of Muslims, how is that any different from what the PFI is doing or advocating for? Sushant.
Zaka, again, it's a question. Not that I'm a defender of Yati, whatever the guy's name is, but if he has made a hate speech, he should be proceeded against under the law. You want to ban him? You ban him. There will be crazies in a country of 1.3 billion people. Is there an organization like the PFI which is backing Mr. Yati or whatever his name is, right? Now there has to be some objective criteria on the basis of which you proceed against people. There are all kinds of mad people in this country who make all kinds of hateful comments. Like I said, you go down to Tamil Nadu, just recently you've heard such nasty things to be said about the Brahmin community, right? You go to some other parts of this country, you will see nasty things being said about the Dalits. You go to Bengal, for example, you've had pogroms against the BJP guys, right? By Mr. Tausif Ahmed's party. At least that's the allegation against them. Right, you've had this kind of violence. So nobody's saying that India is the land of milk and honey and everything is, hunky-dory out here. There are huge problems, huge social tension. But within all of that, if you have an organization like the PFI, which indulges in the kind of actions it is accused of indulging in, then I think a ban is required.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'm completely out of time, but let's be very clear about two things. One, I'm out of time. I'm out of time. Thank you. I'm completely out of time. I'm clear about two things. One, I think this ban was long overdue because of whatever information there is available of the role of the PFI in various nefarious activities, and that information is there in the public domain. So that's number one. Number two, just because there is a ban doesn't mean that this cannot metamorphosize into something else. It surely can. It was SIMI earlier, and this was pointed by the Kerala government in an affidavit in the Kerala High Court as far back as 2012. But the fact that it's come late, does it justify not coming at all? I think that is something that we can all accept. That is not something that should be even brooked. Now, I'm going to take a quick break. As I take that break, let's remind you that you can vote for your favorite sports person, the athlete who you feel deserves to be the Indian of the Year in the sports category. Just go to indianoftheyear.com and cast your vote. And this is going to be the most prestigious awards in news television. That's going to come later on in the next few days. So go ahead and cast your vote. I'll catch you on the other side.
लेकिन